Good morning from the heart of New York City. This is Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast. Podcast dedicated to one thing: to learn and apply to eat better daily. I'm your host, Angela Shurina from Create Yourself That Today, your personal nutritionist, your personal health and wellness coach, your personal fat loss guru, your personal food detective, macro explorer, nutrition and diet fan. And just someone with a lot of passion for healthy living, healthy eating, healthy food, nutrition, diets, fat loss, ketosis, low carb, anything and everything we put on our plates and in our mouth in order to hopefully feel good, look amazing, and perform the best on all levels. So today is Friday, and this is the last episode of this week. And this week we talked a lot about the obesity code and the book by Dr. Jason Fung. We talked a lot about how it doesn't matter that much the amount of foods we eat, but the hormonal response it produces in our body, and basically our hormonal and metabolic health for fat accumulation or fat loss. And we also talked that obesity is not a problem of energy consumption, meaning it's not the problem of the amount of calories you consume, but obesity is the problem of energy or fuel distribution, basically what our body does with foods that we consume. And obesity is also the problem or hormonal imbalance. And basically, if you want to avoid obesity, if you want to avoid metabolic disease and other health disasters like heart disease or different kinds of brain diseases like dementia or Alzheimer, you want to keep your metabolism healthy. And we now know most of the nutrition experts agree that we need to first and foremost take care of our hormonal health, and specifically the most important hormones, as it seems, for our metabolic and hormonal health and our fat gain or fat loss, insulin and cortisol. We want to keep them as low as possible. That will help our body to distribute fuel more beneficially for us, meaning less fat in storage, more energy for our daily use, for our training, for building our lean body mass. And yes, guys, you and I might be eating exactly the same kind of foods, but depending on our other lifestyle choices, our training choices, basically everything and anything we do to maintain certain hormonal balance or imbalance will affect how our body distributes that same food that you and I eating. And so my body might build more lean body mass from the foods that I'm eating, and your body might put more fat into storage from the same exact foods. That's what I want you to understand this week, guys, that obesity and fat gain or inability to lose fat, it's not, again, a problem of energy consumption or over consuming calories, but it's a problem of energy distribution, or basically what my body does when we consume certain foods. And the vicious cycle part of this whole thing is that yes, it is not a problem of the amount of foods and how we metabolize or distribute fuel from the same kinds of foods will be different for you and me, but certain foods do matter. Meaning the amount of them that we eat. For example, high carb foods are proven to influence our insulin levels, that is the main fat storage hormone, negatively, meaning high carb foods, especially if those carbohydrates come from processed carbohydrates that are released really fast in our bloodstream, raising really fast our blood sugar, seems to raise and keep our insulin high once it rises. So those foods seems to promote the most fat storage compared to, for example, fats or proteins. So carbs are not evil, but they seem to produce higher insulin levels, and insulin is the main fat storage hormones. And when it comes to cortisol or stress hormone released by our adrenal, it also based on recent studies and research and observations, it's tightly correlated with insulin levels, and the higher cortisol of people seems to be, the higher insulin levels are. So basically, the more stress people experience chronically on a daily basis, the higher their insulin and the higher their blood sugar usually, and the fatter those people with higher insulin and higher cortisol levels are. But today, very important practical step or advice I want you to take away is it's also proven by a lot of studies, a lot of research on fasting and insulin, that basically having a long period without any kind of fuel from fat, from proteins, from carbs, basically fasting or doing intermittent fasting seems to be one simple tool that doesn't depend on the kinds of food that you eat when you eat, that helps people to manage their insulin levels and helps people to decrease their insulin levels, and that in turn improves and heals metabolism and helps people to get leaner and lose weight and keep that weight off. So, simply before in the statistics, from this book, The Obesity Code, before 1970s or somewhere around 1970s, people used to eat like 3 times a day and no snacking. And the rest of the time they would spend not eating, basically fasting. So it would go somewhere around, 14, 12 hours of not eating. And people would spend 50% of their time in fasting state or insulin-free or non-dominant state, and 50% of the time in insulin-dominant state, meaning when your insulin is elevated, that, as we know, not good for fat loss or lean body mass. Anyway, that people used to eat less, people used to fast naturally more, and their insulin levels were naturally much lower, even though, sugar was invented more than 100 years ago, and people used to eat fruits and dried fruits and all kinds of sweet things and grains for a long period of time. And, interesting detail, in China, for example, before all the processed food came to their country, China used to be pretty closed country to the outside world. Anyway, people in China used to consume the most carbs, but those carbs came from rice, and they used to consume the least amount of processed grains, meaning, flour and processed sugars, and their diabetes level, their insulin levels, and their obesity levels were really, really low compared to the rest of the world. But they, again, consumed the most amount of carbohydrates, but probably like 90% or more of those carbohydrates came from things like rice and vegetables. So the takeaway from that is people used to fast more, and especially fattening and insulin rising properties have added sugars, in particular sucrose, that that is half glucose and half fructose. But anyways, from this particular episode, I just have so many details going through my head. You want to take away that people used to fast more and used to be without food more, and it means that there was no bulletproof coffee, there was no fat, there was nothing. People would just eat 3 times a day, and that was it. So if there is one really simple thing that you need to change to increase your insulin sensitivity, to decrease the amount of insulin your body secretes, to decrease your insulin levels, that across the board has positive effects of your metabolic health, on your hormonal health, on your blood lipids, on your hunger level, on your fat loss, of course, on your lean body mass. So if you want to do one simple thing, then intermittent fasting or increasing the intervals you spend without food, that would be probably the most effective and efficient thing and simplest thing for you to do. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, especially if you're used to like eating from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. But fasting, intermittent fasting is quite simple to do. And again, you can allow yourself more freedom when you eat, the longer that fasting period seems to be. So a lot of people do, 16 hours of not eating and 8 hours eating, and people distribute that 8-hour window however suits them, so they still have their social life and maybe have more food during their work when they need their fuel the most, and less when they do nothing. Or some people find it easier to fast during the morning and then eat their food later at night, so their social life stays more or less intact and they can have their dinner with friends or family or whatever. I personally love doing early intermittent fasting, and maybe my success with long-term fat loss and staying really lean contributes more to my regular fasting practice. Again, on usual now it's probably 18 to 20 hours a day that I'm fasting on a regular basis. This month and maybe for months more, I'm going to be trying again doing 18 hours every day, and then 3 times a week to have just one meal a day, to see how that's going to influence my lean body mass, or the amount of muscle, and my fat storage, and my insulin sensitivity, and just overall health. So I'm always doing experiment myself with my clients. But again, the simplest practical takeaway or practice that you want to start is fasting. So increasing the hours that you eat and drink and consume no nutrients except for unsweetened coffee, unsweetened tea, no even stevia or anything like that, because sweet taste seems to have some effect on insulin levels too, even though the science behind that is not a lot of hard science behind that, but a lot of researchers seem to agree on that. So no sweeteners whatsoever, no fats. Also for keto people, intermittent fasting does not include fat, even though fat might not raise your blood glucose, but it does have effect on insulin levels, even though it seems from recent studies that effect levels off, meaning yes, fats will increase your insulin levels, but it doesn't seem to depend on the amount. So you can eat like a whole, jar of oil, and it will have the same effect if you eat a spoon of the same oil. But calorie wise, of course, the math's going to be different. So a lot of details, but start fasting, guys. A lot of people also do 5-2. You probably heard about it in the media. It used to be really popular in UK, especially in Europe. Basically, people would eat normally 5 days of the week, usually Monday to Friday, while they work and have active social life. And then on the weekends, they would eat somewhere around 5 to 600 calories from low calorie foods and maybe some soups, basically some lighter foods. So 2 days of that, and then 5 days they eat whatever they want, and it seemed to give people quite good results when it comes to fat loss, but also to metabolic health, insulin levels, insulin sensitivity. But again, a lot of people just do a daily fast of 12 to 16 hours usually, and that's what I recommend to most people to start off with at least. So fasting is seems to be the best way, the simplest way to increase and improve your insulin sensitivity, decrease your insulin and your cortisol also, and to improve your fuel distribution and lean body mass, not with the least fat accumulation possible. And again, obesity, fat gain is not the problem of energy consumption, but the problem of energy distribution. You and I might be eating exactly the same meals, but I might build muscles from it and you might store fat from it. So that's it. If you have questions, always just feel free to shoot me email to angela@createyoursalad.today. Also, on my Instagram, you can find the link in my bio to book a free Skype Q&A call with me where I can quickly answer your questions about fat loss, lean body mass, keto, low carb, and any kinds of diets and nutrition that you're thinking about trying. And that's it for today, guys. Enjoy your weekend in a healthy way. Enjoy all the healthy foods or do a lot of intermittent fasting and enjoy your bulletproof coffees. No matter what it is you decide to do, thank you guys for listening. Have an awesome, healthy, fit, active weekend. Rest and recover. Until next time, eat better daily.